fist pose. Good result of my callous hands, like the lonely life.
Howdy, folks. This is James Talley. Welcome to the Rusty Fence Post podcast and an all-breed podcast where we talk about everything dogs. Today, I'm with Andrew and Ashley Brietzke with Deguello Dogos. Welcome to the podcast, guys.
Good morning. Thanks for having us. We're excited to be with you and do this podcast.
Yes, sir. I'm excited for y'all to be here as well. I've been following you guys for a lot of years, and I've always been a fan of the Dogo and what you guys do with your dogs. And I was just really excited about doing this podcast. But can you guys give me a brief history on the Dogo and what it was bred for?
Yeah, so the Dogo Argentino breed, the very early beginnings of it, you would say, took place in the early 20th century. A well-known doctor down there that had an obsession and a passion for working dogs, basically took the cornerstone of the breed, which was the fighting dog of Cordoba, which Cordoba is like a state in Argentina. He took dogs from that breed, which no longer exists, partially because the breed was so dog aggressive that it died out when dog fighting became illegal, and bred it to 10 other working breeds. And through those combinations and specific crosses, and then selecting what he wanted to produce for a working animal, ended up with the Dogo Argentino. In 1960 was when the breed became recognized under the Argentine FCA registry. And then here in 2020, AKC recognized it as a new breed. So one of the more fairly new breeds out there as far as for working dogs. Some of the breeds that are involved in this are the Great Dane, the Pointer, Bull Terrier, Boxer, Mastiff, Wolfhound. A lot of big Molosser and Mastiff type breeds is what he used. But again, the half of the genetic pool when he first started out came from the fighting dog of Cordoba, which was very much like a pit bull Mastiff type cross dog, just a very rustic dog breed. And what he was trying to do was to make a dog that would excel for big game purposes down there. Argentina, they have wild boar, puma, things like that. So he wanted a big working dog that could run on the ground and be hunted with other dogs and work as a team.
So when the Dogo Argentino became a part of the American Kennel Club, has there been any, I don't know what the right wording is, but it seems like when the AKC brings a breed in, that there's some, everybody wants to rush out, be a breeder. Have y'all seen any bad things come from it becoming part of the American Kennel Club?
Definitely a rise in popularity. And now that they're like Westminster show is televised, people will see, a beautiful white dog and inquire about it. But the thing with AKC is that each breed has a parent club that kind of oversees things like the standard. And so our breed club is very focused on the Dogo being one Dogo, where it's a show dog and a working dog. So they definitely try to put educational material out there for the public.
I think it's definitely there's definitely a lot more Dogos out there than there were 8 years ago when we started out into this, and they are becoming a more popular breed. I don't know how much of that is because of AKC. I think the breed would have become popular anyway, just because of their looks, and people see these type of dogs, just an all white, muscular, heavier breed, and think that's what they want. But
also the rise in popularity, I would think, comes from social media.
Yeah, absolutely.
People also, from our page, people will see them on my Instagram, and but also I also try to show what they're made for, what their purpose is, and try to sway, pet homes from owning them.
That makes perfect sense. Many years ago, or a few years ago, I was on YouTube, and I ran across the dog Marocho, and there was a story of two little girls, and basically he saved them from a mountain lion. Uh, is there is that actually factual, or is it legend, or do you guys know much about that story?
Yeah, we actually have a couple dogs out of we've got two grandchildren out of Marocho right now, and even some stuff from our earlier Dogos go back to that line. We've talked to people that have been down to La Cocha, and that's where Marocho is from, is De La Cocha Ranch, which De La Cocha is another very famous line of Dogos, which a lot of that is because of Marocho, some of that probably because of the story. Whether or not the story took place, he was a really good dog for the breed. He produced a lot of great offspring. There's a lot of witnesses that have gone on the record of saying that he was an excellent hunter. Um, Phenotypically, he was exactly what a dogo should look like. There's a lot of people that'll question the story. I really don't care one way or another. It was a good bit that Animal Planet, when they did the Meet the Breed, Animal Planet mentioned the story in the interview and all that, and of course it was a big popularity deal. But as far as whether or not it's true, we don't really focus on that. We just know that those De La Cocha dogs and Marocho himself, there's a lot of good hunting genetics there, and a lot of good qualities for the breed. So either way, his fame in the breed is well deserved.
Definitely. So, how did you guys get involved with working dogs and hog hunting? And how did you meet your first dogo? And what made you decide to get one?
Um, yeah, we've both come from a family that's been into working dogs. I think we were both kind of raised in this. Andrew started out coon hunting with his dad at a very young age, and then when he got into like a little bit before teenager, like 12 or 13, he started going on hog hunts with a few really great dogmen in our area. And I come from a background of working dogs, heavy into the military type dogs, Malinois, things like that. My family was big into like the foster program. And then we got our hands on a half-bred dogo right out of college. Andrew had kind of sold a lot of his dogs from high school. We made a pack of misfits and just started going to the woods again. And then we were fortunate enough to get a hold of our first female, I guess, about 8 years ago. So then it's all over from there. We bred her, kept a lot of the pups, just been going on since then.
That's awesome. Obviously, genetics play a big part in a working dog. How do you guys train these dogs to hunt hogs? Is that instinct just there, or do you have to mold the dogo into what you want it to do?
I mean, I think with any working animal, you don't you want to do as little molding as possible, and let superior genetics do their part. What we believe as far as starting our dogs, we've started over 20 dogos in the last 7.5 years, and we haven't started any of them in a pen. We want it to be as realistic as a situation as possible. When they're about 4 or 5 or 6 months old, depending on where they're at, and a lot of it varies on the individual. But once we kind of start feeling that they're a little burnout on the yard, and they're ready to see the real world, we'll start taking them out, little daytime expeditions, and just letting them run around. Of course, from the very early on, we're getting them used to cattle and things like that. Every pasture we hunt, there's cows on it somewhere. So the exposure starts real early. But as far as like the hunting and combat with hogs and all that, we'll start easing them in around 7 or 8 months old, after they've been to the woods a few times, and we're taking them with older dogs now in real scenarios to where we may or may not catch something. Then once we start getting onto hogs and they're around that 7 or 8 month range, we're just kind of gauging them, seeing where they're at mentally. If they want to contribute, we continue to haul them. If they act like maybe they're not ready, we'll give them another month or so, maybe take them to the woods a few more times on just walking around, getting used to it some more, building up what we call the woods IQ. Where there's so many sights and sounds and smells out there that we want them to be comfortable with and be used to before it's actually game time, and we expect them to contribute. And then, you know, around that 9 or 10 month age, we expect them to at least start wanting to contribute. And, you know, then to about a year old, it's just kind of building on those blocks. And then about a year old, we really expect them to kind of be turning on and being a valued member of the pack. That's kind of where we're at. But everything's done as realistic as possible. We don't really try to set up, you know, any kind of situation that's not 100% live, authentic, ready to go. You know, we don't use pins, we don't tie hogs. We just hunt them with the older dogs and let them lead by example.
We're really focused on seeing what their natural instinct is, and we go from there. We really want to just see what that DNA holds.
Would you guys consider the Dogo to be a versatile breed?
I don't know, but it depends on what kind of jobs you're doing. We've talked to so many different people that use Dogos for different things. I mean, for us, we're not really after versatility. I'm not trying to get a one and all dog. Now, where we do think they're versatile is, it's kind of like, I guess a good analogy would be like thinking about a welder. You know, it's like maybe he can't operate a bulldozer or a backhoe. Like maybe he's just a welder, but at the same time, he can weld TIG, stick, you know, MIG, whatever kind of welding you'd need, he could do it. And to kind of like relate that with the Dogo, it's like we don't expect them to hunt a whole bunch of different kind of game. We don't expect them to work cows. We don't expect them to do protection work or you know anything like that. We just expect them to hunt hogs, but they need to be able to do all aspects of hunting the hog. They need to be able to hunt, find their own hog, catch it, hold it. They're supposed to be a one all breed for us. You know, that's the only dog on our yard right now is Dogos, and that's how it's been for the last 5 years. So we expect them to be versatile in that sense, but we don't expect them to do more than that job. There's not other jobs that we're also trying to train them for. But I mean, they're an intelligent breed, and any intelligent working breed should be able to be somewhat versatile if they're trained right.
I will say, as the breed as a whole, there are exceptions in the breed that are like service animals or, you know, protection dogs. But I wouldn't make that our main focus for the breed, putting them in the spotlight as protection dogs or service animals. We'd really like to keep them in the woods.
Yes, ma'am. How do you guys typically hunt your Dogos? Are y'all hunting them off of a truck side by side, or do y'all primarily just walk?
I would say probably at least 95% of the hunting that we do is on foot. And you know, this all kind of goes back to the reason why we use the Dogo. Pretty much all of our hunting places are under 1,000 acres. We live fairly close to the San Antonio area. So, you know, a lot of these big farms and ranches that we're out here in our part of the world are getting sold off and divided. So it's smaller tracts of land, which was another reason we got attracted to using the Dogo, is because it's a shorter type range of dog that you know is running to catch their prey. There's not a whole lot of chase. I'd say 9 times out of 10, where they find the hog is pretty much where they catch it. There's not much of a race. So, you know, things like going over to the neighbors or, you know, crossing fences, we try to cut down on that by hunting these type of dogs instead of using a looser, more colder nosed dog that's going to chase hogs all over. It's very similar almost to like quail hunting behind some really good pointer type dogs, you know. I know there's some bird dogs out there that'll burn the country down, but these dogs are very methodical in their search. But at the same time, once they find what they're looking for, it's not much of a race. They usually shut it down pretty quick.
Right.
So with that said, I mean we every now and then we'll kick a couple dogs out and road them just to get them used to that. But even then, you know, I think hog hunting in general, there's a lot of people that when they road hunt, you know, you're missing so much of that pasture by driving around instead of like really getting out and walking it and letting that dog really get a chance to work it. So we've just had a much better success rate just by letting them getting behind them, and it's more fun for us. You know, you get to see more of what's going on and who's doing what.
I think a lot of our success rate comes from being able to see our dogs on the ground, know what they're doing, know if they're hunting or they're just running around or they're trashing. You get to really know each dog that's in your pack when you're walk hunting.
What have since you guys primarily do walk with y'all's dogs, have y'all had any close calls yourselves with? I would imagine they shut them down pretty quick, but have y'all had any close calls?
Well, I mean, that's another reason. When you're hunting an animal that can potentially get to 300 pounds, and they're built like a little mini skidster, you can, definitely get into some situations no matter what kind of dogs you're hunting. But that's another big reason why we picked the Dogo, is so we help eliminate those type of situations. Due to my work schedule, there's times, especially in the spring and fall, where Ashley will, load up 2 or 3 of these dogs by herself and go. And I really can't think of another dog breed right now that I would be comfortable with her taking 2 or 3 dogs and going to the woods by herself. Because these Dogos are so athletic and powerful, that really helps to kind of eliminate those type of situations where things can get a little hairy. But of course, yeah, you you kick these dogs out enough, I mean, you're gonna get
Every
into some.
scenario is
Yeah.
different, but also our dogs learn from every different scenario.
Exactly. I follow Ashley on Instagram, and I see you guys, hunt these dogs pretty much year round, from what I gather. What do y'all do? Do y'all have a typical, conditioning program for these dogs? And I would imagine nutrition is important. What do y'all feed y'all's dogos?
Well, we're really big advocates for this breed staying a rustic, hardy breed. So, our dogs stay outside year round. Of course, there's a few chosen few that will come inside and be comfortable, like Buzzy comes in the heat of the day, things like that. But as far as a plan or a regiment, we just keep them conditioned. Each dog is different physically. Some eat more kibble than others, and we'll supplement here and there with with treats and raw food and things like that. But what we're real big on is the quality of rest that they get, that they have, good shade, clean water, interaction. That we just want everything for them to stay positive, and we like to keep them conditioned year round.
Yeah, it's more of the conditioning and building up the muscles. That's all stuff that takes place in the woods. As far as on the yard, we like to think that the yard is their place to rest. They don't have to be on. They can just chill out and enjoy their area. Uh, we don't really do anything on the yard as far as like running them around or getting them amped up. We want them to be as cooled off as possible, and the best way to do that is we try to put about 5 to 7 miles per dog each week in the woods, and depending on the time of year. But when you're hunting them at least 2 or 3 times a week, you really don't have to do a whole lot otherwise to kind of keep them up to where their legs are where they need to be.
And as far as kibble, we feed a very
We
middle shelf type kibble. We've changed here and there, but we try to keep this breed healthy and rustic, and they should be able to handle, staying outside, eating normal dry kibble, fresh water, and staying conditioned.
That makes perfect sense. Would being that you guys handle these dogs day in and day out, you have your select few who come in and out. Uh, would you guys consider a dogo suitable for a first time dog owner? And can they have aggression issues?
They can definitely have aggression issues. When you look back, and like I mentioned, the breed originated from a fighting dog anyway. And I mean, these dogs are combat oriented. One of the bigger knocks in the hog dog circle, besides of course the regrip thing that people bring up, is they can easily be dog aggressive, especially same sex aggressive. Males can typically be pretty easy to set off, especially with dogs of other breeds. It's kind of funny how it seems like almost sometimes that they're less aggressive with each other than they are with other strange breeds, or hunting with dogs that they don't know. Um, but human aggression as well. But of course, that should always be called out right away. Um,
As far as first time dog owner, kind of the same thing. The breed as a whole, I wouldn't recommend as a first time, but there are exceptional dogos and there are exceptional dogo owners. So yes, there are a few first time dog owners that own great dogos. But my biggest advice to anybody is that you just have to be hands on. You have to set boundaries, and you have to give them an outlet. not every dogo has to hunt hogs, but they have to have an outlet for that strength and for that energy that just continues to build up. As soon as you burn it off, they're just going to be that much more of an athlete.
It's funny you say that because there's a guy that I was watching on YouTube one time, and I don't know if you guys have ever seen this, but he had a huge dogo and he hooked himself into some type of running harness as to where and this guy was really fit, but he would hook a harness onto the dogo, and he would give the dogo a command, and the dogo would just haul butt, and this guy was running behind the dogo, and I mean, it seemed like they run forever, but that guy was freaking slap wore out, by the time they got done. But them having, I would assume a mentally and physically tired dogo is a happy dogo.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, a lot of the horror stories you hear of come from dogs that were kept in their kennel or lived on a couch their whole life and never got to burn off that energy like Ashley was talking about. And I mean, that's when you get into a dangerous situation. These dogs want to work. They want some kind of purpose.
And that's the reason that we like hunting the dogo, is because they have a huge gas tank. And so, yeah, if you're going to keep this dog as a pet, and especially a first-time dog owner, you have to take it seriously.
Yes, ma'am. Do you guys have I know y'all talked about there was different clubs within the breed. Do you guys have any type of confirmation show or standard or anything like that?
Yeah, the parent club that Ashley was mentioning earlier, they do a national specialty every year, and people from all they'll get prestigious judges from all over the world to come and judge these dogs. There's actually a big dogo community in Europe, in different countries in Europe, and there's a lot of admirers of the breeds over there, and some really great dogos are come out of Europe. So they'll either get judges from there or Argentina, of course, and they'll put on a specialty, and dogos from around the country will come, and they'll select a confirmation show winner. And then of course now with AKC recognizing the breed, AKC will have Dogo Argentino classes at their shows. There was a Dogo Argentino at Westminster this year. There was another one last year. They're really starting to become more common in the show circle.
Ashley, I remember when I reached out to you guys about being part of the podcast. I was asking you some questions about Buzzy. Can you guys tell me a little bit about Buzzy and also, and there was a picture you showed me with. We kind of talked. I asked you if he had ever been challenged, and you told me he, pretty much every time you guys take him out, that's a common thing, and I was kind of amazed by that. But I was amazed by the picture of the little girl you showed me, and he was just real gentle with her. And can you guys touch base on that a little bit?
Yeah, Buzzy, Buzzsaw is definitely our all-star. He's had some amazing performances and just an all-around good dog that you want to be around. Yeah, that video of him with my good friend's little girl, that's just him. That's just his personality. We have a lot of landowners that are big fans of Buzzy because of that as well. But once you take him to the woods, I mean, he is full on focused, knows what to do, knows that this is his job. And I think it's very fun for him, when he is kind of left behind, because his age is kind of starting to show. So we let him rest on purpose. I mean, he throws a fit. He loves going, but he's just an all around good dog, good hunting dog, mentally, physically, and just he's had some amazing performances. I mean, some top 10 performances that just keep on coming from him. It's amazing.
I've been around, working dogs all my life. Like Ashley was saying, been coon hunting since I was 3, and I've hunted with hundreds of hog dogs. To see a dog that just knows his job so well and just like can punch in and out like that, and just when he's on duty, he's on duty, and when he's off, he's just the sweetest dog in the world. But just a very great example, mentally of what a dogo should be. Just very much can turn it on and off, and like Ashley said, he's had some really great performances for us. There's been times where he's really kind of been, it's Buzzsaw and whatever couple young dogs that we had, and he'd carry the load, and we've caught a lot of great dogs behind him, or great hogs behind him, and he's thrown some great pups for us, and hopefully years from now we still have stuff on our yard that goes back to them. We have our first buzzsaw grandson right now, and
Yeah.
he's amazing. He's everything we'd want in a Dogo pup, so we're excited about that. But yeah, we were super lucky to get that on our first litter. Just a great Dogo, and we're really lucky to have him.
And all the great things about Buzzy that make him great. But it's been good for us to learn from him. Just the fact about hunting dogs and Dogos in general. I mean, he's taught us a ton.
That, you guys touched on his age, and I mean, does there get to a certain point to where you just say, you're done, or what traits, or what do y'all look for in those type of situations to where you pretty much know that their hunting career is over?
Well, I mean, it kind of depends on the dog. Buzzsaw is he's not even 5.5 yet, but it's been such a hard 5.5 years that the miles have kind of not wore him down, but he's just he's not as fast or as
a little
athletic.
Less spring in his
yeah step. he's got
he's still going on a weekly basis. He's just a little bit slower, and he's got a couple of good prospects that are coming up, and he's got a little bit more help.
He walks a little bit heavier than he used to. But then you look at his mother that we've had for since she was a pup. She's coming on 8 years old, and right now is when I'd say she's kind of in her prime. She's also maybe not as athletic as she was as a young dog, but I mean, she's basically just been like a computer, soaking up everything we've showed her. So almost 7 years of hunting now, she knows the role better now than ever, and her performances this year have been some of her better ones. So I mean, we just kind of gauge it on that, and if they're still fresh enough to do this, and they want to do this, and can contribute, then we're going to keep taking them. But of course, like Ashley said earlier, rest is a big part of our program. We'll push a dog to a point where we know that they need to be shut down, and then we'll shut them down and let them recuperate. We're not going to force a dog to hunt every other day, or 3 or 4 days in a row every other week. If they need the downtime, we're going to give them the downtime, and that's where a lot of, I think, dogs get hurt in the woods, especially hog hunting. It's not so much the hog or whatever that they're working. It's the exhaustion, the lack of rest, and that leads to the inability to maneuver or make decisions as quickly as they should, and that's when they get hurt. The quality of rest has been very important to us in these working dogs, and has helped, I think, cut back on a lot of injuries that I think otherwise we would have had if we just kept pushing dogs.
So a simple answer to your question would probably be just the individual dog, but we like to say, if they can keep on loading up, then we'll take them.
That's awesome. Would in the 8 years that you guys have been dealing with this breed, would you say that y'all have learned as much from them as they have from you?
Oh, I'd probably more, probably a lot more.
Yeah.
I mean, with them, it's so instinctive, and what they've showed us, it definitely. And we all, I don't remember it being such a proclamation, but it was kind of a big deal when we told people that, we're going to hunt an all Dogo pack, and people in the Dogo community at that time were very much, that's a good mission statement, but yeah, you're wishful thinking, and it's probably not going to end up that well for you. You're either going to have a bunch of dog fights, or you're going to be catching cows, or you're not going to find hogs. It's just not. The breed wasn't meant for that. We got told that a lot by American breeders. And it was funny because Argentinians, where the breed comes from, they were the kind of the first guys to applaud us and be like, yeah, that's exactly what we designed the breed for, and good luck to y'all. And it seemed, here we are now, and what we've learned by hunting these dogs and by seeing them, do what they're supposed to, it's showed us, it's gone here in the last couple years, I think, from us trying to prove that it could be done, to now it's, man, not only can it be done, but it is a really effective, efficient tool, and it works great for our part of the world. There's other people now that are doing the same. We've talked to other hunters from around the country, really. There's people in California, all over, that are starting to do this with all Dogo packs, and it works well. They work well together. If you get on a group of hogs, their individualism kicks in, and they can grab their own. we've had as many as 4 dogos out on the ground on big groups of hogs and caught 4 hogs at one time. They make a lot of sense, but hunting them for the last 8 years and following up behind them in the woods, they've definitely taught us a lot more about their style and what the benefits and downfalls are of the breed than we've learned or they've learned from us. That's definitely for sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We're getting down to I got about 7.5 minutes left on my Zoom plan. So I want to touch base on one more question. What does the future of the Dogo breed look like in your opinion?
You know, when we first got into the breed, it was at a time where a lot of people in the hunting community were kind of down on them. They were too big, dog aggression, like I mentioned earlier.
And expensive, the price tag.
Yeah. I mean, you couldn't hardly find a Dogo pup for under $2,000 back when we first got into it. You had to really do your homework.
There's a little bit of the health issues too with the all white coat. It comes with the deafness. That they can have hip issues and allergy issues. Like I said, that's why we're such big components of the rustic parts being in this breed. So that's kind of been a turnoff for the hunting community.
Yeah, but I think too though, like this breed for so long was at a crossroads where it was like, is this just going to be a novelty breed and not at all to throw shade on any other breeds, because I know there's working examples out there of both of these, but kind of like the Cane Corso and Presa Canera, there's other people out there that have them and use them for working jobs, but for the most part, they've become kind of like a more of a novelty breed than what you would say a true working dog. And I think a lot of people saw the Dogo, kind of heading that direction. So, to be able to hunt these dogs and preserve them and keep them for their intended purpose and keep their style and their athletic build, designed towards hunting hogs, that's allowed us to kind of help preserve it a little bit. And that's kind of now our main goal is to preserve these working Dogos and try to improve them best we can. I will say, and I've said this before to other people, I feel now there's a much better chance to go out and find a working pup or a prospect in the Dogo community than there was 10 years ago. I think 10 years ago, you had a much better chance of getting a pup, like Ashley said, that would have deafness issues or hip issues. I think breeders have done a much better. I think there's a lot more breeders out there, and I think there's a lot more breeders out there that probably shouldn't have Dogos, but there are a lot more breeders out there as well that really do a great job of health screening these dogs, testing these dogs, making sure that they're true to the breed characteristics. Just something that's kind of a neat thing about the community is there's Dogo breeders all over the country that'll, a couple times a year use up all their vacation, drive across the country and hunt where there is hogs just to make sure that their Dogos are true to the breed and have the qualities they're looking for before breeding them. And, that's not something you see in every working dog breed. So, we tip our hat to those people. We know that we're lucky to live in South Texas and, be able to hunt hogs, right outside our area. Most of our places are within 10 miles of the house. So we know we're fortunate in that aspect, but it's also great to see that there's other people in the Dogo community that they maybe don't live near hogs, but still want to get out and work their Dogos and see them do what the breed was intended for. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. Listen, guys, I really appreciate y'all coming on. It's been an honor to have you guys on, and I appreciate all your expertise on the breed, and thank y'all very much for coming and being a guest on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you. And good luck with everything. Good luck with the podcast. We're excited to see that. There needs to be more stuff going on with that puts a spotlight on working dogs. So thank you so much for featuring us.
Yes, sir. Thank you.